And everybody's favorite topic, facilitating students and managing behavior. We just had someone do a poll of study abroad practitioners, and the #1 topic that people wanted to know about was mental health issues and psychotropic medications and managing student behavior. I can't always find pictures of students misbehaving, because they don't share them. The young lady in the upper left-hand column, this is a very recent picture. This is the quintessential excellent student who never drinks, or has a half a beer or a beer. She's just finished some exams and decided, I keep seeing these other people drinking excessively. Maybe I'll give it a try. And she's experientially learning the downfalls of that. And the student affairs manager is calling up the hospital. We're going to take her in and give her a transfusion of fluid. Drinking, the upper right-hand column as well. If you took alcohol out of education abroad, we probably wouldn't be having this meeting, right? Alcohol is huge in education abroad. The picture on the lower right, I once put that up at a conference and said, well, what do you think? And some poor schlep said, well, I'm glad it's not my daughter. And I said, oh, well, what are your assumptions there? That student is the fellow on the right, and he's dealing with this rapacious Italian woman who is exploiting him horribly. And, which is not the case, actually. He is the one on the left. The guy on the right is a local fellow in Turks and Caicos, where there are a lot of very predatory men, and which is why we have this slide in the first place. The gentleman there is actually, he is not one of those predatory men, but I can't get any pictures of the predatory men. But one of the things that's true in the pictures of that I have of students is that our students look very, very much like they've been drinking a whole lot more than the men have been drinking, which is the case. I blurred her face for confidentiality, but only added to the effect. Students really need to keep their wits about them in places where they need to keep their wits about them. We'll talk about that in a second. And this gentleman jumping off a sea stack in the Caribbean, that is just dumb as a box of rocks. And, we'll talk about how to look at dumb behavior in a minute, because it's easy for a lot of us who have spent a lot of time working with college students to over-invest ourselves in talking about how stupid some of the behavior is. Very adaptive on how we deal with that. We'll talk about that in a second. I read Cheryl sent me the excellent article by your colleagues on student entitlement, and I immediately sent it out through our whole system. There were a bunch of students who were unhappy about their grades in Turks and Caicos, and they particularly enjoyed that article about entitlement. And most of our professors are not Americans, and they are not used to students questioning anything, much less grades. So when they read that this is very common in American students, it helps them feel relieved. It's not something that they are doing, it's just the American students. But how this plays out abroad is that we're now seeing students who look at studying abroad as an entitlement, as a right, not as a privilege. I find a lot of students, as opposed to feeling like they're in somebody else's living room and being sensitive to the sensibilities around them, they feel like their job is to be themselves and let people get to know them, and that's a legitimate approach. And I understand that approach, but when they're offending locals in the community, we try to educate them around that this is not really okay. Being themselves is not as important as not offending local folks. And sometimes that takes a while to get across. They're under-aware of the baggage that they carry. And that whole article talks about how high American students' self-esteem is. They expect people to be interested in them. And what that does is makes it very interesting, very easy for people who wish to exploit them. The people that are waiting outside of airports and at the docks when the ships come in because they're hoping to have sex with an American or separate them for their money or whatever. The people that are so eager to meet our students go, hey, they seem to like me, instead of having a little index of suspicion going, did this person just wake up this morning and say, You know, I've heard so much about these Americans, I want to go out and meet one. They seem fascinating. And they show up and go, hi, you seem great. Let's get to know each other really well. And I think most of us in the room would go, okay, where's my wallet? Our students tend to go like, he likes me. All right, good, let's go. And it's very difficult to foster a healthy paranoia in our students. Part of that is that they're less likely to take staff advice with appropriately intended gravitas. You may be telling them something that you just think is so obviously true and important for them to understand, and they may be looking at that going, okay, thanks for the input. I'll take it under advisement, but we're going to check this out for ourselves. You go, no. It really is dangerous down there. When I'm saying don't go down there, I mean actually don't go down there. And they go like, okay, well, if it looks dangerous, you don't want to go down there. Some of the other things that we run into, impatient with limited food choices. It's like, well, yes, you're not in your college dormitory that has 65 options for breakfast. You're in a country that does not have those sorts of economic resources. Our students get ripped that we don't allow them to download their favorite movies and spend hours on Facebook in places where the bandwidth is very, very slight. What do you mean? I can only do this to get academic articles? Yeah, as long as we do it. We're going to keep an eye on it. And they're not prepared for the international standards. Our staff, as I said, are not used to having questions asked. Actually, our staff find that exhilarating after a while. The first time it happens, they find it kind of like, I just told you, that was truth with a big T. You're questioning this? After a while, they like that. They don't like the questioning of the grades, however, and they are very clear, quick to do exactly what that article says, which is hold up, this is A work, this is what you did, any more questions? They're very good at doing that.